Well, being a reservist used to mean there was a good chance you wouldn't see combat. But with our armed forces engaged in 6 different war zones right now, they're very likely to be called into battle.
And when they come home, some are finding themselves unemployed. Consumer investigator Danielle Serino explains.
Navy reservist Lieutenant Kevin Ziober is no stranger to war zones. He's been deployed twice, his base shelled by rockets. But he never expected he'd be going from the firing line to the unemployment line.
I'm also thinking, when I come back, how am I going to provide for myself? How am I going to put food on the table?
Lieutenant Ziober told his employer, a real estate firm that actually deals with the government, that he was being deployed to Afghanistan for more than a year. Colleagues threw him a goodbye party with an American flag cake. But several hours later, he was fired.
Those war fighters go into battle with their families in their thoughts. And if you know that you have no job, that has to weigh on a service member.
A federal law called the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, or USERRA, is supposed to shield service members in cases like this. But the lieutenant lost those protections when 6 months after being hired, they forced him to sign a contract agreeing to settle any disputes through arbitration. So after returning from duty, he sued to get his job back, citing USERRA, taking his case all the way to the Supreme Court. A bipartisan group of 20 lawmakers, including Senator Sherrod Brown, even filed a friend of the court petition. But the court refused to hear the case.
I was sort of amazed that anyone wouldn't re-employ a service member.
Joe Barton specializes in veterans and employee law and represents Lieutenant Ziober. He says arbitration is stacked in favor of employers who often have relationships with the arbitrators. They take place behind closed doors with no jury and no right to appeal. And losing those employment safeguards is especially hard on service members.
They're less likely to have savings. They're more in need and more dependent and more likely to live paycheck to paycheck.
It's why Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut introduced a bill called the Justice for Service Members Act, which would close the loopholes in these type of agreements. And Lieutenant Ziober pushed Congress to pass it when he testified before the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs last year. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is fighting the bill, saying it would open the door to class action lawsuits. And for now, it's on hold. But Lieutenant Ziober says all those congresspeople who talk the talk of supporting our military need to start walking the walk.
If reservists don't have those protections to give up their civilian jobs to go defend America, our military suffers, our national defense suffers, and our country's put at risk.
If you want to help change this, you can. Call your representative, our senators, and tell them you want this bill passed. I'll put a link with their contact information on our website, wkyc.com.